All right. If I could have the camera, please.
Let's do this.
November 5th already.
Yes. I'm ready.
So the monitors aren't on? Is that what we have?
Wait, this one's yours.
Want to make sure we're on the air here. We will call the meeting of the Lincoln Park City Mayor and Council to order for November 5th, 2018. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be immediately followed by Reverend Kara Hildebrandt of Lincoln Park Presbyterian. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I see that the Reverend isn't here with us. If we could have a moment of silence for those Lincoln Parkers who have lost members of their family in this past few weeks. Thank you. And if we could have roll call, please.
Councilpersons Darzinski.
Here.
Higgins.
Here.
Kelsey.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Parkinson.
Here.
Ross. Here. And Mayor Carnes.
Here. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Big day tomorrow, Election Day. We ask that those of you all go out and express your right as a citizen of the United States of America and vote. Gubernatorial race, Senate race, state representatives, federal representatives, council, mayor, everybody is up. So if you want to have your say, now is the time to do it. That's tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yesterday, it wasn't yesterday, I apologize. On Saturday at the American Legion, there was a fundraiser that was put on for Officer Ryan Howell, who had suffered a back injury in a motorcycle crash. I want to thank everyone that attended there. It was very well attended. I don't know how well they did, but it was a tremendous outpouring of support from the citizens, from all the officers and business leaders in town. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of the police department for that great thing that you guys all did. And speaking of thanks, I owe it to the citizens that volunteered and the CPW and the CERT team that were out on October 30th and October 31st patrolling our streets. I was out there for a little while, gave a couple hours. It was nice to get back out on the road just a little bit, but we had, I don't think that we had very many reports of vandalism and such, and it has to go back to those people that volunteered their time. And it's a longstanding tradition with us going and doing this, and we appreciate all of their efforts for doing that. If you are still looking for ways to volunteer your time, though, we have Fantasyland is still in the process of being set up. If anyone is interested in doing that, I can give them the times when they are open. I would ask that you email me at mayorcarnes@gmail.com or to call the office at 386-1800, and we will get you in touch with the people that set up, or just stop by if you see them working. It's a tradition that is, I believe, 52 or 53 years old right now. And it's going to be open again at the end of this month, but they always are in need of assistance. All right. The next thing that I have is a proclamation for a young lady. I believe that she is here tonight. This young lady has been involved in the community for several years that I'm aware of, always working on the behest of students and those that are suffering from addiction or preventing such, and just in all honesty, saving lives. So I have the proclamation, whereas Simon Kavas is a recipient of the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber Inspiring Women Award, and whereas Simone is a substance abuse prevention counselor and a community organizer for the Taylor Substance Abuse Prevention Task Force, and whereas Simone has spoken with thousands of teens in the Downriver area on the dangers of opioid drugs, and whereas the residents of the city of Lincoln Park benefit greatly from Simone's continued work in the community and commitment to the Downriver area. Now therefore, I, Thomas C. Carnes, Mayor of the City of Lincoln Park, along with the Lincoln Park City Council, do hereby recognize the great work being done by Simone Kavas in the community of Lincoln Park, and in witness hereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Lincoln Park be affixed this 5th day of October 2018. So Simone, would you like to come up? And Judge Clifton, would you like to say a few words about Simone? Probably could have done that ahead of time, but I think that that since you're here, we need to know a little bit more about what this young lady does for us.
What does the judge not want us to say? What Simone, I can say is,
The microphone's on.
person,
Is the microphone on? There's a button at the bottom.
how about now?
There you go.
Simone has been a right-hand essential person to me as part of our group down here, Downriver Families Against Narcotics. She's on our board of directors and is just invaluable. She just goes everywhere talking, as you know, to the kids in schools, and our thought is if we can start at a young age, hopefully we can stop some of this addiction issue that is killing so many people. So I really appreciate what Simone has done.
And the judge is the founder of our local Families Against Narcotics network group that Simone is also a part
I
of.
actually brought you some flyers. I'm always working.
There we
on it.
go.
So I left some flyers. So every third Thursday of the month, we're at the Turning Point Clubhouse. So I've left some flyers. If you can share them out, I'll leave them here for you.
Sure. Would you like to say a few words?
I am deeply honored and very humbled to be here tonight, and I truly am blessed to have such a great community to work with and work for. My door is always open, and I appreciate City Council and everybody in the community, the fire department, the police department, who stand with me and work against all the substance use issues that we have. So this is really a partnership. This is not me by myself. I just appreciate the time, energy, and effort that everybody gives to dealing with these issues.
All right. Come on forward. This proclamation for you, and our thanks for everything. The rest of the council would like to correct this. The rest of the council would like to correct this. Make sure I get my ring.
Thank you so much.
Good.
You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
If I could say a few words, Your Honor, if
Sure,
it's
go
okay.
ahead.
I first met Simone when Pat Kraus was our mayor, and Pat got her involved in the opioid crisis we had at the fire department, and with Doug Wright and the rest of them. And then she also helped put the prescription take-back box in the police department. So she's been active for a long time in the community, helping us do numerous things that some of the residents see, but they don't see. And I just want to congratulate her for all her work, and she was given a very nice award at the Southwestern Chamber of Commerce, and she deserved every bit of it as well as the other people that were there. So I'd like to thank her for her dedication, and she's always doing something, like the judge said. She's always someplace doing something. So she's a very good asset for us, and we're very lucky to have her. Thank you.
This past Sunday, there was also another event, and it was the graduation ceremony for the Lincoln Park Citizens Academy. This is the first time that the academy has been done in Lincoln Park. We hope it is not the last. And the citizens that did take this and were honored with graduations were David Gayer, Bianca Cross, Billy Sherwin, Joseph Chompy, Andrew Yates, Brian Sobozinski, Larry Edge, Nathan Kalmus, and Kyle Say. And lastly, one of the recipients who's with us in the audience tonight is Michael Horvath. So our congratulations to those folks upon their graduation. Job well done. And, yeah. With that, all right. We have to give you up to date on litigation. The city was served with a lawsuit either today or on Friday, and it is Mufferman of Lincoln Park LLC versus the city of Lincoln Park. This has been turned over to the city attorney. All right. And then we have several events that are set up for 11/11, which is November 11th, which is Veterans Day. The Exchange Club is having their 4th annual rally to house homeless veterans. At this time, it's at Crystal Gardens due to the event having gotten a little bit large, which is a nice thing to have happen. But that'll be at 6:30 at Crystal Gardens on 11/11 at 7. This has been the last 3 years the largest event exchange-wise in the country to raise money to house homeless veterans. And so we would hope that you come out there. Before that takes place, which is 11/11 at 11, we have a bell ringing that's going to happen. We have Jeff Day, our curator for the Lincoln Park Historical Museum. But Jeff, would you like to come up and talk in reference to this? An interesting part of this is at the bell ringing with the Goodell bell. If you are in attendance and you want to ring the bell in honor of someone that has served in the military in the past, somebody that is currently serving, or just a friend that is in the military, you will be allowed to ring the bell in their honor.
Yes, that's right. We've been doing this for a number of years now, where we invite those who are in attendance to ring the bell in honor of somebody who has served. And so veterans are so honored with that tradition here in Lincoln Park. We are expanding a little bit on that this year, actually significantly. This year is the 100th anniversary of the armistice, which ended the First World War. And it is because of armistice that we have Veterans Day today. It began as an Armistice Day celebration on November 11th, 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Actually, it was 11 o'clock in Paris when the peace was signed. So it was actually 6 a.m. in the morning here on the East Coast and in the Midwest. So even before the sun came up, people were celebrating in the United States. So it was a little earlier than 11 o'clock, but traditionally it is associated with 11/11/11. 1 year later, after that, then President Woodrow Wilson established Armistice Day as an annual event and program to remember all of those who had died and served in the First World War, which was, of course, not called the First World War. It was called the Great War, or the War to End All Wars. The ceremony will begin this Sunday morning at 10:45, so that we will have time to gather and do a little preliminary work before the bell ringing, which will happen promptly at 11 o'clock. So we do ask those attending to come at 10:45. Yeah, it will be held on the grounds of the Historical Museum using the historical Goodell School bell, as Mayor Carnes mentioned, which also dates to 1918, the year that the school opened. It will include the participation of the American Legion Post 67 and VFW Post 552, which together will read the names of the men of this community who served in the Great War and became the original members of Lincoln Park's 2 veterans posts when those posts were organized in 1930. When the war ended on November 11th, it was a time for not only celebration, but an exhilarating sense of relief. Many military and medical personnel and nurses stayed on in the war-torn regions to provide assistance and stability in the occupied areas, but most soldiers were back home by the spring of 1919. We expect a number of special guests and officers to be on hand for the ceremony on Sunday to help lead the proceedings, including Mayor Carnes, U.S. Congressional Representative for the 14th District, Debbie Dingell, our State of Michigan Representative, Cara Clementi, and our own Wayne County District 4 Commissioner, Alona Varga, and others that we expect to attend. It's true that each year we still observe this anniversary of the First World War armistice. However, in 1954, Armistice Day was officially changed by an act of Congress to become Veterans Day, a day for us to honor all U.S. veterans, and that's what we do today. Veterans Day observance will be a significant part of what we do on Sunday, so it will be a combined Armistice Day commemoration, which is being held around the world, actually. Many communities and countries who are looking back 100 years ago to the end of the war, which occurred all over the world. 6 continents were involved in the war. And so it will be taking place everywhere on Sunday. We do extend a special invitation to those here in Lincoln Park who may have ancestors that served in the First World War. Again, the start time is 10:45 on the museum grounds. Do dress warmly, as we may have colder temperatures that day, although we do hope the sun will shine. And I do want to express also a thanks to Mayor Carnes for participating on Saturday. We had a World War I program at the museum in the afternoon, and he was a special part of that, reading segments of his grandfather's diary that he kept during the First World War. So I want to thank him personally for that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and for everything that you do over there. Sounds like a very nice event. And with that, we will move into the consent agenda. Resolved that the following items listed on the consent agenda be approved as presented to the mayor and city council. 1, approved minutes for regular meeting held October 15, 2018. 2, accept minutes study session held October 24, 2018, RE 2019 roads. 3, approve Christmas tree lot 3313 Dix. 4, approve interagency agreement LP Police Crime Awareness. 5, approve interagency agreement LP Police Community Policing. 6, approve sub-recipient agreement First Step.
So move.
Support.
Discussion?
I'll abstain on number 2.
Very good. Further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Higgins?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item is whereas the tolling of bells is a traditional expression of honor and remembrance, and whereas a century ago, 4.7 million American sons and daughters put on the uniform to serve our nation and the world in this global conflict, whereas men and women from our own fair community of Lincoln Park served selflessly and honorably in World War I, and whereas there were 375,000 American casualties, including 116,516 deaths, whereas on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, an armistice to the fighting was declared. And whereas the U.S. World War I Centennial Commission has called upon all Americans across the nation to honor and remember those who served. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Lincoln Park and the State of Michigan does hereby call upon the citizens and institutions of our community to toll the bells in remembrance of the armistice at 11 a.m. local time on November 11, 2018.
So move. Support.
Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Higgins?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. This item, the mayor has a cover letter from our city manager, Matthew Kopler. The mayor and city council took action at a previous meeting to adopt changes to the city code that expanded the ability to cite billboards near highways. Mayor and council wish to require owners of billboards located in the city to obtain a license for these billboards. The attached ordinance will require owners of billboards to obtain a license. 2, require the submission of an application to the building department for a building permit. 3, require the billboard to be kept in good repair. And 4, make the license non-transferable. Now, whereas the mayor and city council wish to amend the city code that addresses signs within the city, now therefore be it resolved that an ordinance to amend the municipal code of the city of Lincoln Park by adding chapter 890 entitled Billboards be given its third and final reading and be adopted. The city of Lincoln Park ordains that the codified ordinance be amended by adding the new chapter 890 entitled Billboards as followed, chapter 890 Billboards.
So moved.
Do you need the whole thing read?
Does need to be read.
Well, hold on to that thought. 890.01 definition. As used in this chapter, billboard shall mean any construction or portion thereof upon which there is a sign or advertisement used as an outdoor display for the purpose of making anything known to the general public, but not including bulletin boards used to display official court or public offer notices. 890.02 license required duration. No person, firm, or corporation shall engage in or carry on the business or occupation of outdoor advertising without having first paid a license fee as set up by city council from time to time per sign face for each billboard per year, or until the 31st day of December next following the application for such license, payable annually in advance on the first day of January of each year to the city clerk. B, each license shall remain in force for a term of not more 1 year from and after the first day of January, and shall be renewed annually. All licenses issued after the first day of January of any year shall expire on the 31st day of December of said year. Any license which is not renewed by payment of the sum required by this section within 6 months after the due date thereof shall be terminated. 890.03 license-application. Every application for license shall be made on a form to be furnished by the city clerk and shall state the full name and the post office address or fixed place of business of the applicant. The issuance of such license shall entitle the holder thereof to engage in or carry on the business or occupation of outdoor advertising and to make application for permits as hereinafter provided. 890.04 issuance of permits. Any person, firm, or corporation, either as a principal agent or otherwise, desiring a permit to erect or place any billboard shall file with the building department an application therefore. Such application shall set forth the location on which it is proposed to erect such billboard or place such billboard, describing the same by lot and block or by any other description by which the same may be readily located or identified. Such application shall be accompanied by the written consent of the owner of the property on which the same is proposed to be erected or placed. If the application shows the erection, construction, and maintenance of the proposed billboard is in accordance with all the requirements of this chapter, building department shall issue a building permit upon the payment of the application of the applicable fee set forth in the building code as adopted by the city for each advertising structure or billboard to be erected or maintained. 890.05 permission of owner or leasee. It is unlawful for any person, firm, or corporation to erect, place, or maintain, or cause to be erected, placed, or maintained any billboard without the lawful permission in writing, signed and acknowledged by the owner or leasee of the property upon which such advertising structure or billboard is located. 890.06 plot plan required. Such application for the erection, construction, and maintenance of the proposed billboard shall be accompanied by a drawing to scale of the proposed sign and plot plan showing the proposed location of the structure upon any lot and showing clearly the street or streets upon which such structure is to face. And such plot plan shall also show the location of existing adjacent buildings, street intersections, and other outdoor advertising structures or billboard within a radius of 600 feet. 890.07, good repair and in compliance with the building/zoning standards, termination of license. The owner of any advertising structure or billboard shall maintain said billboard in good repair and compliance with all applicable city building and zoning codes to ensure the safety and welfare of the public. 890.08, licenses not transferable. Licenses issued under this chapter shall not be transferable. 890.09, owner's name displayed. No billboard shall be erected or maintained unless the name of the person owning and or maintaining the same as plainly displayed thereupon. 890.10, unlawful displays. It is unlawful to display on any advertising structure or billboard any advertising or advertising matter which is contrary to the existing federal, state, local law or ordinance. 890.99 penalty. Editor's note, see section 202.99 for general code penalty if no specific penalty is provided.
So move. Support.
Discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Higgins,
Yes.
Darzinski,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. All right, next item also is from our city manager. Mayor and council has just adopted Chapter 890 billboards, Section 890.02C, requires a fee to be paid to file for this annual permit. After receiving the cost of services associated with providing the license and adequate review, the following fee schedule is being proposed. Billboard licenses, $100. License fee for city, DDA, or EDC-owned billboards will be waived. So the resolution is, whereas Section 209.01 of the City of Lincoln Park Codified Code state, council may, by resolution, from time to time adopt service fee, license, permit, application, and user fee charges for its agencies and departments, said charges to be paid forthwith by the individual or business against whom which said charges are assessed. And whereas a license fee has not been established by the mayor and city council pursuant to section 890.02C, license required duration in chapter 890 billboards of the codified codes. Now therefore be it resolved, the Lincoln Park Mayor and Council do hereby adopt license fees for billboard licenses. Billboard license fee, $100. License fee for city, DDA, or EDC-owned billboards will be waived.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Through the chair, real quick. This process for this, I should have done this after number 3. This process for getting this changed took a long time, and again, this process needs to be shortened. I just want to reiterate that. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Parkinson,
Yes.
Darzinski.
Yes.
Higgins,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
and Mayor Carnes.
Yes. This next item has a cover letter also from our city manager, Mr. Kopler. The Lincoln Park Downtown Development Authority, the DDA, has requested the city to take over the service of removing snow and de-icing the parking lots within the DDA region. The DDA has for a number of years relied on private contractors to perform these services, but of late has had difficulty in obtaining quality of service they desire. Early in the budget process, the DDA director began discussions with the city staff to determine if the city would be willing and able to provide the level of service they desire. As you may recall, in the current fiscal year's budget, we added 4 employees to the road department. This additional staffing provides the necessary resources to allow the DPS to be able to handle these additional duties, but still provide the snow plowing and de-icing services to the rest of the city. The agreement with the DDA will be for 1 year and provide the city $35,000 in compensation for providing these services. If it is determined after the 1-year term that the performance met expectations, we will look into a longer-term agreement. So whereas the Lincoln Park Downtown Development Authority, DDA, wishes to enter into a contract for the city to provide snow removal and de-icing services for the parking lots the DDA maintains, and whereas the city of Lincoln Park has the equipment and manpower to undertake such services. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council approve the snow plowing and de-icing agreement with the DDA, and be it further resolved that Mayor Thomas E. Carnes and City Clerk Carrie Kerher are authorized to execute said agreement on behalf of the city of Lincoln Park.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
I've read this, and I think it's a great idea. The only problem is it's a contract between the DDA and the city, and I don't see too many of the city's rights in the contract. And I'm just saying that because there's been a history of the DDA having a problem with contractors for whatever reason. And I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with the city doing it, but I want to make sure that the city still has some reserve rights in the contract in case we disagree. And according to this, what I read, the city doesn't, it's all the DDA, is requesting the city to do this, and if the city doesn't do this, then they can have another contractor do it, and so on and so forth. There's going to be times, I'm sure, where the city can't provide that service for whatever snow emergency or something comes up, and I don't see that out in here where we get out of that requirement that we're liable for it no matter what. And like I said, I have no problem with it, but I'd like to see something in there that the city has an out in case something happens that's unforeseen, because that's not in here. It requires the city to do, and most of you have read this, to do everything, so, and that's fine, I don't have a problem with it. But again, there's going to be times when the city's going to have manpower problems, even though the 4 people we have, they were supposed to be, I understood, for coal patching and to do infrastructure. That wasn't necessarily for the DDA area or for the parking lots, but that's neither here nor there. We have the people, and if we can do it, we can do it. So I'd like to see something in here and to give the city some kind of cushion, if you would, in case something happens where we can't do it on the premise of what this contract requires. That's all.
Well, as a member of the DDA, I can assure you that it's not, in the case of a major emergency, we know that the roads need to be taken care of first, that you have to maintain or be available to send ambulances and such to get to point A to point B. The rationale behind the DDA in looking for this is that we were paying this amount to have this work done. And we thought as a group that it would be better to return this money to the city and have them where they could maintain this and take care of this, as opposed to having an outside contractor come through. I mean, it's not something we're looking to sue the city or such, and there is an out in there in the contract, as I recall, correct?
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I think the viewpoint of this agreement was that the city, in the end, if the city isn't providing the level of service the DDA is wishing, then it's not that we have any need to say, well, you have to give us more time to do that, or what. If you don't like the service we're providing, the contract is done away with, and so we don't provide those services anymore. Where I think I would agree in terms of adding some language, what you're suggesting, is really on the payment side, to make sure that we get compensated for all the services we do provide. So if they were to terminate early, we'd still receive payment for the services that are provided. So I could see some language in there from that perspective. Would that be suitable, or?
That's fine, but, number 5, and this is where I have a problem. Failure to perform. Should the city, after being advised of the deficiency, fail to timely perform any service required under this agreement or correct any improperly performed service, the Lincoln Park DDA may, at its option, obtain such services necessary to correct the problem. The cost of such replacement services shall be by the city. That was my question. I mean, and I'm not disagreeing, but the DDA has had problem with their contractors, and I understand. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to have the same situation with our service. And then the reason I'm saying that is that there is a tendency where people have a disagreement about who's doing what service, and that's all I'm looking for. So if we have something where it just gives the city some kind of leadway in case we have something that's unforeseen, that we don't get caught in having the language brought up that says, well, you were supposed to fix it, and we say, well, there was something going on, and we get in a disagreement whether it was or wasn't. I mean, that's all I'm looking for. So we can provide some kind of, the truck might break down. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, and I'm not saying it could, but that's all I'm looking for. Other than that, I don't have a problem with this. I mean, the DDA, some of those lots are ours anyway, so there's no issue with it to begin with, and we should be doing it anyway.
All the lots are the city's.
There you go. But it sounds like here, Mayor, that this DDA is dictating to the city what we're doing with our own lots, and that's a problem. My God, it's like a catch-22. It's part theirs, but then again, we're responsible for them, but then again, the contract says you will do this by our standards, and that's all. I'm not want to get into a disagreement, but the only thing I'm saying, something to protect the city. That's all I'm looking for.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Councilman Kelsey in that number 3A, it specifically states that they want first priority during a snow event. So maybe we could adjust the language there.
Well, as I recall, it says that there would be one unit that would be made available to them at that. But if you're paying this amount of money, which is a substantial amount of money, $35,000, you can't wait until every street has been plowed before the parking lots and with the businesses that have been paying the taxes have to do that. Because then it would behoove us to go some other location or some other group to do that.
But as you said, Mayor, our fire routes should be done first.
Well, yeah, it should, but if we're entering into this agreement, then there has to be, either we have the people to do it, and we have the supplies to do it, or we don't enter into this agreement. And then they will have to go someplace else, because the object of the DDA was to return this money to the city and our city workers and have them perform the job in the city, as opposed to go to an outside agency and do that. I mean, it's kind of funny that they're doing these lots anyway, that they're city-owned, but still,
The other
That's what it
question,
is. Yes,
the
go
other
ahead.
question I have is, under number 1, the term is listed as 2018, 2019 winter season. And under 8, for the term, it's actually 1 year. So is it a season or is it a full 365 days?
Covers a year, but it relates to the season. In case the snow
Good.
runs longer, we have a free action, we have snow in July. We'll cover the term until it's renegotiated.
Right. The term of the agreement is for 1 year, 12 months.
Okay.
It refers to the winter season because if you play out the dates, the winter season doesn't start until, for the next year, until December of 2019.
Okay.
Your Honor.
yes.
I absolutely think the DADA is entering this with good faith, and I know we're want to enter with good faith. But anytime two different groups enter into a contract, if something goes wrong, you have to be protected. And I agree with both my colleagues that something's got to be written in on both those to make the city safe.
So just so, because I'm trying to make notes so I can change this tomorrow. What you're looking for is something to protect the city in case of, an unforeseen inability to provide the service.
If the DPS comes down with the flu, we don't have the men, our fire routes have got to be done first. These things happen.
Maybe just a force majeure clause in there would cover that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I just want to make sure that whatever I do is what you want, so that's why I'm asking. So it's just to cover the city in light of an unforeseen event that would occur that would prevent us from being able to provide the level of service, effectively one person, to do this work, right?
I think it's, if I go through the chair, I think it's strictly in any contract, and I've done union contracts, I haven't done legal contracts, but they're semi. You have quid pro quo. Each party has a part to do in the contract, and each party has rights. I'm just looking for something, if something happens, we can sit down and talk about it. We don't end up being some kind of, we sent it out, you couldn't do it, some kind of discussion between the two parties to understand what happened. And legitimately on our end too, the city to say, hey, we didn't do this, it just happened and we just couldn't, and we can prove it, and we'd like to have the discussion with you that it wasn't an intentional, because what happens with two parties is when they read something, they all take a different interpretation of what that contract says. And all I'm looking for is something that, if for whatever reason, the truck catches on fire, which we had one catch on fire, unfortunately, and something, that's all. And the way it reads is that we have all the responsibilities, and I understand that, but, stuff happens beyond our control. We could have a 4-inch or an 8-inch snowstorm. We can't get over it. We're still doing and it doesn't happen, but it does happen. With the way the weather's been going, you never know. All I'm looking for is some kind of discussion or protection for the city. However you want to write that, and you're better at that than I am, that gives us some protection, and it still gives the DDA what they want, which is the service at a reasonable price. I don't have a problem with that. That's all I'm looking for.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
it is a very one-sided contract. There does that, but it got to be a lot of research redoing this, Matt. It's very, very one-sided. Thank you.
It's going to snow Fridays.
It is.
Well, the circumstance is if you change it too much, then it's going to have to go back in front of the DDA, and which point then it's going to be mid-December by the time anything is done here. So either the city can perform this duty or they can't. So that's what need to be determined here. So either they can or they can't, and then give the DDA enough time to go out and secure other opportunities.
Well, through the chair, I don't think, this issue, first of all, this issue was discussed at the DDA long before we got it. I mean, long before we got it. I mean, they discussed it, because I sat in the audience and they discussed it, and they, rightfully so. I mean, I don't, but it was discussed way before we got this document. So with all due respect, I think we should have more than 24 hours to read this thing and decide whether or not we agree with it or not. And I don't disagree with the fact that, like it's been said, is that, you know, they deserve the services. I'm just looking at not rushing into something where, as a fiduciary of the city, I'm going to be forced to eat later on because I didn't do my due diligence. All I'm looking for is something in there. I'm not taking away the DDA's rights, but the way it reads, and I'm sorry, the city has no rights, and I'm sorry. I have a problem with that. And that's nothing to do with the DDA. I would write it the same way if I wrote a contract. I would write it all in my favor, that's all. But just something in there that gives a leeway to our DPS director, and that's all. I mean, it doesn't have to be carte blanche, just something in there that says that, in case we couldn't do it.
Copper, you think you can write
That's all.
something where it would not have to go
Yeah.
back to DDA for approval?
Well, it's going to be up to their legal counsel whether they have to reapprove it or not. But I just want to address, you know, the one comment about this being one-sided. The reason that it appears to be one-sided is that from our standpoint, we don't have a lot of responsibility for this. If, you know, it's not like, the only thing that we are getting from them is payment. So that's why, you know, most of this is written according to their specifications, what they expect. So that's why it appears to be one-sided. I mean, if we were getting something in return from them, you know, if they were going to be providing a level of service, and if you think about service contracts that we have, you know, they're spelled out. A lot of places will say, well, they're kind of one-sided to the city because, you know, we're spelling out, you'll do X, you'll do Y, you'll do Z, and in return, you'll get A and B. You know, the only things that we're getting in return really is payment for the services that we're providing. So that's where, you know, our protection really is, that we're going to receive the money, and why I suggested that we could put some language in there that should it go south, you know, we're going to get paid for what it is. You know, I agree, and Ken put some language together. I just wanted to make, you know, again, the reason I asked, I wanted to make sure I understood exactly what it was, so I knew exactly how to write that. But, you know, in that failure to perform, you know, what I would suggest is we just put in there, and I think this addresses the issue, you know, give the city time to cure whatever the failure to perform is. And again, that's kind of typical that you would put in there saying that, you know, we're given 24 hours to cure whatever the failure of the service was. So I think we can do that in a way that would not be, you know, substantively make any issues with the way that they would have to approve it. And I'll look a little bit more in terms of what the language needs to be, make sure it does protect us. But that, and I think, you know, the guarantee on the payment is for any services provided, would be the other thing that I'd put in there. Because if, again, in the middle of the year, they decide we're not doing what they want, and we've performed services up to that point, and we haven't gotten paid for it, we want the money. So I can make those changes as well.
So may I weigh in for a moment? And I know we spend more time that I deem would be necessary. I don't
Yes,
view
sir, go
it
ahead.
either as being one side or not protecting the city. This is an intergovernmental agreement between two units that one is created as the corporate fiction of the other. And part of that goes with the good faith of the agreement here. Mr. Cobbler can make some changes, but I wouldn't, there were too many suggestions, in my opinion, here for him to change things here that would hamstring the actual enactment of the agreement, because it's going to have to go back to them. I think he's come up with something that would give you clarity on the 2 points you were concerned about. I think that's all you need. I would, it would be a stretch to say that this doesn't benefit the city or that this is a one-sided agreement. So I would suggest that Mr. Koppler brings something back for near immediate approval. And understand that your next meeting is when the local officials get sworn in, so you won't have time to act on the agreement then, too. And this is something, in the event you expect it to take hold and there is a sudden change in weather, Mr. Copper needs to move as quickly as he can.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're willing to approve the ability to sign this dependent upon us putting that language in there, right?
Just want to make sure.
Because,
Well, I don't have a, through the chair, I don't have a problem, but I want to cite one more item, and this is what I don't understand. The city shall only use qualified person, which I have no problem with that. Upon being advised by the executive director or authorized representative that an individual is performing an unworkmanlike manner, the city shall replace the individual. They're telling us through their thing that we have to, on their interpretation, to replace somebody, not the DPS director who's doing the service. Now, if that isn't getting into somebody's business, I don't know what is. I mean, in all due respect, I mean, I don't know any agency that says like to the DDA, I don't like your director, so you better replace them. And all I'm saying is something, if I could finish, please, all I'm saying is just something, whatever. If you come up with something that protects the city, I don't have a problem with that. It doesn't have to be a major thing, just something that gives us something, that's all.
My understanding of the contract is that one person would be assigned to do the plowing. And the situation that the contract refers to is if there are issues with the individual that was assigned to do that plowing and was not up to par, then they would replace that individual and have another worker take that over. Not to dismiss or have that person fired, just that have a different person do that DDA work.
and that's similar to what the agreement we have with the schools for the resource officers, if you recall back to that agreement, where if they have an issue with the officer that we assign to it, and understand it's a collaborative process to begin with in terms of picking the officers to be resource officers. But if at some point during their tenure, the school feels that they're not an appropriate fit for the high school or the middle school, they have the right to say, we'd like that person to be replaced. And again, I think, granted, you know, from our standpoint, we kind of see this as working together more than the agreement is necessary, but I understand and can understand the council's desire to have a little bit more protection in there. But I think that the practice is going to be a lot closer working relationship in terms of, you know, who gets assigned. John will, you know, be working to make sure that we have someone that understands how to plow the parking lots, because it is a different, you know, skill to do parking lots versus doing a road. And, you know, again, working with the director of the DEA to make sure that, you know, they don't have any problem with the level of person that we're putting in there. So all those things will be kind of, from our perspective, be worked out before we actually get to it. But, again, I think that one may be a little bit more difficult to come up with some language, but if you want, I can put some language in there to address that.
And like I say, I guess if this contract would have come through the chair, if the contract would have come sooner, we would have had time to discuss this for a couple of months before we had to act on it. And I just wish stuff like this would come a little bit sooner, so when we have the chance to read it, we can talk about it. It's not do or die the same night. I mean, some of this stuff is been in the drawing board for a long time before we get it. That's all. But that's another issue. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, just something that.
Okay, is there
So
further
we-
discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item, the attached resolution, this is also from our city manager. The attached resolution will authorize the request for proposals to be issued for planning and economic development services. The current contract for planning and economic development services will expire on December 31, 2018. The current provider of the service, Beck and Rader Incorporated, has worked with the city in their current capacity since January 2016. The current agreement with Beck and Rader has been extended twice pursuant to the terms of said agreement. So whereas the agreement for planning services with Beckett will expire December 31, 2018, and whereas the mayor and council wish to bid services related to planning and economic development services to select a qualified firm capable of providing said services, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council authorize the advertising for and acceptance of sealed proposals for planning and economic development services to be provided to the city.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from Steve Martin, our fire chief. And it's proposed resolution to waive bid process to purchase new fire engine with financially distressed cities, villages, and township grant through by government procurement service. And in background, the city of Lincoln Park was awarded $420,000 through the financially distressed cities, villages, and township grant to purchase a new fire engine to replace one from our aging fleet. The fire engine that will be replaced is a 1997 Sutton pumper, which has fallen into disrepair and exceeded its recommended use. Several manufacturers brought apparatus to our station to be evaluated, which time a detailed list of specifications was compiled for the new engine. Although a formal bid process was not conducted, we consulted with top 3 manufacturers who had a chance to review our bid specifications and provided a preliminary quote. Sutton, based in Amwin, Ohio, provided the lowest quote of $503,423 while meeting all of the bid specifications that were sent out to each manufacturer. Each manufacturer takes part in and recommended the HGAC BUY Nationwide Government Procurement Service Program, which offers significant discounts through participation. All contracts available to participating members of the HGAC BUY have been awarded by virtue of public competitive procurement process compliant with state statutes. And the resolution is, whereas the city of Lincoln Park was awarded $420,000 through the Financial Distressed Cities, Villages, and Townships grant to purchase a new fire engine. Whereas the 3 top manufacturers, E1, KME, and Sutton, had an opportunity to review our bid specifications and provide a preliminary quote, with Sutton providing the lowest quote, $503,423, while meeting all specifications. And whereas HGAC BUY Nationwide Government Procurement Service Program offers significant discounts through participation. So therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council waive the formal bid process and purchase the new fire engine from Sutton Corporation through HGAC BUY Government Procurement Program.
So moved.
Support.
Question, Your Honor.
Discussion? Yes, sir, go ahead.
On the old fire truck, do we have a trade-in value for that, or do we have a guesstimate on how much we could get if we sold that to another community? I know we've done that in the past.
The chief is here, Chief Martin.
So, best guesstimate is going to be about $12,000 to $15,000 for that one.
That's all it's worth?
That's all it's worth.
And what was the original cost again?
I don't know what we paid for that one, but it's a 1997, so it's quite old, and there's significant rust and structural issues on it. So, another city can't really put that in service.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think we did that in the past, so we sold it to another real small community. But
Right. I think the other one that we would have a better shot with being able to sell it and have somebody still be able to use it for a few years. But that one's quickly approaching its useful age too.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Then the chief, the main reason we didn't go out for bids?
The HGAC BUY program, I was not aware of it, but after talking to the vendors, they offer a 15% discount. So it took a lot right off the top. So they all recommended it. They all take part in it. They all acknowledge that it's probably the cheapest way to go. It's like going through My Deals for buying our vehicles off My Deals.
Okay. Further discussion? All right. Clerk, call the roll. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Okay. Next item, whereas the mayor and city council wish to schedule a study session to discuss with landlords in the city to discuss the rental registration inspection program. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council schedule a study session on the rental registration inspection program for Wednesday, November 28, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the John A. Aloisi Council Chambers, 1355 Southfield Road, Lincoln Park, Michigan.
So moved.
Support.
Question or
Yes, sir.
discussion? That Tuesday we discussed before the meeting, it's a Wednesday, not a Tuesday in the calendar, so we gotta, oh, sorry.
As he read it Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was me then. I'm all set, thank you. And this, one more question. This takes place of the 20th that I see posted around here, so this is actually the real date we're
Yeah,
actually
that,
doing it. Okay.
yeah, staff got out ahead of everything on that one and put a date out there that really didn't work with schedules. So we had to come back and change it to this date.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay, what,
May I just indicate that I would like you to have Mrs. Higgins present at the meeting, and the sole purpose would be to protect counsel from saying something that might implicate counsel in a pending class action in federal court involving landlords and the rental ordinance.
Ms. Higgins is welcome at every meeting,
All
sir.
right, well, she doesn't seem to think so, but I'll tell her that. And I would also caution counsel, be careful in making any offers, any promises, or anything that may seem to indicate any position the city now has or may have, because they've sued several communities, and they've had varying degrees of success. Please be very cautious with what you say at the meeting, or promise at the meeting.
Yeah, we're there to listen. Council President?
No, I'm good.
through the chair,
Yes, sir.
this is the 28th now at 6 PM?
Yes, Wednesday.
Okay, all right. Gotta change that.
Further discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes,
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
I really have a problem with the time. If we could make it 6:30, that'd be much easier for me. I should have brought that up, I didn't realize it was 6. I'm gonna vote yes, and if
I have no problem with the time if you're looking for a change. I mean,
Yeah,
To the chair, I don't have a problem either if we want to change into them.
6:30?
6:30 is
yeah.
good.
I make-
Okay, and those that already voted,
That's good. It's good.
okay, 6:30
Start
it
the roll
is.
call over.
Yep.
6:30. Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes.
Your Honor, are we going to recognize this on our character generator so that everyone who's interested in being here can be here?
Absolutely. All right, next item is a resolution to approve the corrective action plans for the police officers firefighter retirement system, municipal employees retirement system, and retiree health care plan pursuant to Public Act 202 of 2017. And this has a cover letter from our city manager. And it's on December 20, 2017, the Michigan legislature passed Public Act 202 of 201, or actually of 2017, the Protecting Local Government Retirement and Benefits Act. This act supposedly addresses underfunding issues associated with pension plans and retiree medical plans in Michigan. A pension plan is considered underfunded when both of the following conditions are present. One, the funded ratio, which is plan assets divided by plan liabilities, is less than 60%. Two, the actuarial determination contribution is more than 10% of the total government fund revenue for the city. OPEB, other post-employment benefit plans, are considered underfunded when both of the following conditions are present. One, the funded ratio is less than 40%, and two, the actuarial determined contribution is more than 10% of the total government fund revenue for the city. Unfortunately for the city of Lincoln Park, the pension plan and an OPEB plan meet these criteria, requiring the city to file corrective action plan with the state treasurer. The police officers firefighters retirement system is approximately 27% funded, while the MERS plan is approximately 21% funded. While the funding levels of both these systems have improved over the last few years, they do not meet the necessary levels as required by Public Act 202. Actions by the emergency manager in the city have made a number of changes that have improved the outlook of those two systems, but there still is a long way to go. The OPEB plan is a little trickier because we have conducted an actuarial analysis. We haven't conducted an actuarial analysis of the OPEB liabilities since 2012. We must use that report as the basis for determining the city's status with Public Act 202. Because of the pay-as-you-go strategy, the report showed OPEB plan was 0% funded with a liability of $110 million. We are in the process of getting a new actuarial report on the OPEB plan, which will yield a more accurate picture of the funding of the plan. The emergency manager changed the retiree health care plan during his tenure, and in doing so, reduced the amount spent for OPEB from nearly $4 million per year to approximately $750,000 per year. This dramatically altered the city's budget problems and brought the city under at least one or two of the two criteria for underfunded status of Public Act 2002. Because of the proposed plans will not get the city the required funding status in the determined time period, I fully expect our corrective action plan to be denied. However, the only way to achieve the criteria set forth in Public Act 202 is to inject a considerable amount of money into all three systems. At the current revenue levels, it's not possible unless we begin reducing services or ask residents for additional taxes. So the first of the three resolutions are, whereas December 20, 2017, Public Act 202 of 2017, the Protecting Local Government Retirement and Benefits Acts went into effect. Whereas the city submitted the required reports for the police officers and firefighters retirement system pursuant to Public Act 202 of 2017. And whereas the State of Michigan Department of Treasury has determined that the police officers and firefighters retirement system obligation has an underfunded status. And whereas the city has completed the corrective action plan as outlined by Public Act 202 of 2017. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council of Lincoln Park approves the corrective action plan for the police officers and firefighter retirement system as presented.
Also move for discussion.
Support.
Support.
You know, I talked to Matt real briefly on this earlier today, and he said our situation looked like it was improving. I'm just wondering if it's denied, as you think that it will be, what does that mean and where do we go from there?
Well, so any plan that's denied will be sent back to the city to come up with a new plan. And then we'll be right back here having council adopt effectively the same plan. And then it'll go back to them and they'll deny it and it'll come back to us. And really, the way that the act is set up, there is nothing that will happen if they keep denying the plan. But with that being said, of the three plans that we're going to be talking about tonight, actually the police and fire plan is the most likely to be approved based upon what the funding level is. In the cover letter and when you read the form that's attached to this, you'll see that we actually get up to 52.6% funding within 6 years. So by 2023, we'll actually be at a level that would keep us out of the Act's numbers. We still will be triggered because it's still a large percentage of the city's revenues. But for the most part, I believe that we're going to be in relatively good shape with this particular plan with them.
I guess my major concern and my immediate concern was that it might trigger the state action that we had before. Is that a possibility?
No, it was early in the creation of Public Act 202, they had language in there where the stability board would be able to come in and dictate what actions the city would have to take. But those were stripped out in the final bill that was passed. So as we sit here today, assuming nothing changes with the new governor, we wouldn't be facing that. And again, I think, especially with this particular one and our OPEB plan, you know, I think the actions that have been taken actually put us on a pretty good course. You know, this particular one, I'll say that the unfortunate piece with just doing what this plan says is that we are going to be paying upwards of $6 million a year for the next 20-plus years for the pension. If we were able to get, and we did an analysis that will actually be submitted as part of this whole plan to the state, that, you know, adding $1 million additional for 5 years gets us closer, but more importantly, in 5 years, our payment in the pension goes down from $6 million plus down to around $5,500,000. And that actually opens up capacity for the city 5 years down the road to do more things in the general fund. An amount of $2 million a year, additional for 5 years, would get that payment at the end of 5 years down to approximately $5 million, which opens up another $1 million of capacity, which would allow us to do more things within the general fund. But short of getting that money, you know, we're going to be faced with $6 million a year for pension payments for the foreseeable future.
So we're in essence biding our time until we get to the 3-year period that you're talking about?
Yeah, well, I think you know, if we do everything that we are doing right now, the market stays where the market is over a period of time, we're going to meet the state's requirements for funding of our plan. So, we, I think, are within the criteria for them to approve it. Will they approve it? That's a different question. But I think, based upon what they've told us and they put out in literature, this particular plan, police and fire, falls within the criteria of a plan that they could approve if they so desired.
Just as a final question, are they going to look at the total projected plan that we're doing? Or are they going to look at year by year before we get to where we're going to be having the money to satisfy their interest?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I really can't answer because they really haven't began reviewing these yet, so we really don't know. We've had a number of conversations with Treasury officials related to how this is going to go. They're well aware of my viewpoints on this, and I think they have a good understanding that they're probably not going to be able to make the same decision for cities that appeared to have similar issues with their pensions. I mean, again, we're not we are one of the lowest funded in the state, but we're not by far the only low funded communities in the state. And there are cities that did not go through what the city of Lincoln Park went through the last 5 years. And I think, again, they have to look at us differently than they look at some of the other cities. And that's, my point of view on this, obviously. And I think there's some understanding based upon some of the changes in the criteria that they were going to be using. It's changed. It's evolved in the last probably 2 months. The forms changed in the last 30 days to reflect a broader viewpoint of the funding of these plans. So,
I guess my last concern is that, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And we have the good intentions. I just hope that they're real, real intentions.
yeah, and I think, again, that goes to us doing what we're supposed to do. I mean, really the only unknown that's out there in this plan is what is the stock market going to do. But understand that the way that the police and fire pension is doing their actuarial numbers, their assumptions, they're a lot lower than what the actual return has been for the last few years. So it builds in, automatically it builds in a little bit higher payment, which will kind of, if the economy does have a downturn and the stock market doesn't perform, it's not going to have a real dramatic increase in what the ARC payment's going to be. So I think, we're in good shape with this, as long as you don't have a major recession. I think we'll be okay.
You'll wait.
Yes, that would not be good. That would change everybody's numbers. But I think this plan and this particular system is a good one. It gets us to where we need to be.
Further discussion by council?
Through the chair, just to comment to the residents out there, for the last 2 years, why I held 3 town halls on it is exactly why we're here right now. This is why I wanted everybody to pay attention. And stock market being good for the next 5 years. I'm going to get into that a lot later. Thank you.
Anything from council further? We had citizen communication.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Richard Kudrek. One of the things I love to do is read the council's e-packets. It provides a lot more information. And when I read action item number 8, I was just stunned. I knew that the police and fire was very much underfunded, 27%. I knew the MERS plan was very much underfunded at 21%. I knew the city needed $102 million to fix the roads. And now I read this other post-employment benefits that somehow or another I've never heard a word about. An unfunded mandate of $110 million. And you folks haven't said one word about how we're going to erase that obligation. So you want to give $6 million to the police and fire for their pension fund? I understand that. But what are you going to do about MERS? What are you going to do about the roads? What are you going to do about the other post-employment benefits other than ask the residents for a massive property tax increase? Thank you.
Further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilpersons Parkinson?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Whereas on December 20, 2017, Public Act 202 of 2017, the Protecting Local Government Retirement Benefits Act went into effect. And whereas the city submitted the required reports for the City of Lincoln Park Retiree Health Care Plan pursuant to Public Act 202 of 2017. And whereas the State of Michigan Department of Treasury has determined that the City of Lincoln Park Retiree Health Care Plan obligation has an underfunded status, and whereas the city has completed the corrective action plan as outlined in Public Act 202 of 2017. Now therefore be resolved that the mayor and city council of Lincoln Park approves the corrective action plan for the City of Lincoln Park Retiree Health Care Plan as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
So if I could, so this one is not in as good a shape as what the police and fire pension system is in, police officer and firefighter pensions in.
This is the healthcare is what I read.
No, this is, you read,
I
You
read
read
the
the
healthcare
healthcare
one.
one.
Sorry.
read the wrong one. Healthcare, okay. So this is, I was thinking of how to say what I was going to say with MERS.
Got more time.
So with the healthcare plan, as a previous speaker had said, everything was turned into the state because the state requires the forms to be filled out based upon your last actuarial analysis of the plan. And that was done for the OPEB back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And at that time, there was an unfunded liability of $110 million. And that's primarily because the city had taken a pay-as-you-go approach to it. And unfortunately, over a long term, that's a more expensive way to go about it, but that was the way that the city did go about it. You might remember, this might, trigger some memories, that the EM came in and effectively gutted the healthcare program for retirees. And that changed everything. And one of the reasons why we hadn't done an actuarial analysis of the current plan is because, again, you might recall we were being sued. And in talking with Treasury, talking with our auditors, we felt that it didn't really make sense to spend $20,000 or $30,000 to do an analysis of what the current plan was, with the possibility that it all changes overnight because we lose a lawsuit. And so we actually, you might remember this from the audit presentations, we had a qualified audit. Financial statements were qualified because there was things that weren't done, primarily the actuarial analysis of the plan. Since that suit was dropped, we felt comfortable in actually getting an analysis done, which we've been working with the actuary to get this done, and we're almost done. They've given us a draft finally earlier this evening on this particular plan, and that's why I handed out to everyone an updated version of this form, because we now actually have certain numbers that indicate what it all means. And so that $110 million number, just throw that out the window because that doesn't exist anymore. The actual unfunded, or the actual benefit is estimated by the actuary at $4.057 million. A lot more affordable. And that's based upon a payment of about $528,000 a year that we absorb for the retirees that are actually a part of the health care program that we provide. Over a 30-year closed window is what the analysis would do. That would mean that we would have to fund about $200,000 each year. But you might also know that we're paying about $528,000 for these retirees every year, so that math doesn't really work out. And so what the plan is we commit to the $528,000 that we are paying right now, and over a period of 6 years, based upon the actuarial numbers, we would actually be fully funded for that $4.1 million. Because what happens effectively is that every year we make that payment, that $4 million is reduced by the payment amount. But also the cost, because of all the things actuaries look at in terms of interest and the number of people that are on the plan, because, this particular plan is really heavily weighted for those below the age of 65, but they progress upwards, and so over time, those numbers are reduced. So the money that we're saving from committing the $528,000 every year then goes into a pot that will keep growing and growing as well. And at a period of about 7 years, according to the actuarial numbers, we'll actually have enough money in the pot to pay for the rest of the years that system is going to be funded. Understanding that this is a closed system, there is a finite number of people that are going to be involved. There's not going to be no one added to it, so the numbers dwindle as you go later and later into this. That's not to mean that we're not going to be making payments beyond 6 years. It's just that we will be fully funded according to the state numbers that they're looking for within that period. Again, this plan actually, where we currently are, doesn't trigger any of the requirements by the state to actually have a corrective action plan, but because we were forced to submit the last actuarial report that was done, that triggered us to actually go into this program. So going forward, we should not have the need for this under the way things currently are.
Okay, further discussion?
Through the chair, are you going to put that corrected report on the website? Because in the packet, it has the
Yeah.
old one that Resident Kudrak was talking about, which has a higher number.
Yeah, actually, these, because of the lateness, we didn't get these to be a part of the packet.
Okay.
So we can easily put these up, and we will. Just to let you know, there are a couple exhibits that we're going to be adding to these that make them a little bit longer. So what we'll probably do is we'll put the whole packet together, because, again, when you read through this, you see that we have to put the actuarial analysis, which you guys received in the past, and a lot of other information that I didn't want to bog down the council agenda with. But, they're all things that are being asked for by the state. So we'll put the whole thing together and put that on under the transparency section of the website.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilpersons Murphy?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes?
Yes. And then lastly, whereas on December 20, 2017, Public Act 202 of 2017, the Protecting Local Governments Retirement and Benefits Act, went into effect, and whereas the city submitted the required reports for the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan pursuant to Public Act 202 of 2017, and whereas the State of Michigan Department of Treasury has determined that the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan obligation has an underfunded status, and whereas the city has completed the corrective action plan as outlined by Public Act 202 of 2017. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of Lincoln Park approves the corrective action plan for the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan as presented.
Support.
Discussion?
MERS, right?
MERS, yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Do it this time around.
Through the chair.
Hang on, just,
Yeah, if-
we'll let
if-
Mr. Copper talk first, then I'll go to you, sir.
If I could. This one is obviously not as well-funded as what the police and fire pension system is funded. However, one of the weaknesses in this is that MERS has not done the actuarial analysis report, evaluation, whatever you want to call it, based upon the changes that were made by the emergency manager, as well as what has been collectively bargained since the emergency manager. So because of that, where they list us as 21% funded, I think if they were to do the valuation based upon what the actual plan is today, those numbers are going to look a little bit better than what they are. The reason they haven't done it is there's a lot of reasons, I guess, from their perspective. I feel that we've been in negotiation with them for the last year, easily the last year, to actually get these into the system. They've given us a lot of reasons why that they can't do it. I think they're excuses, not reasons, but we are getting closer to actually doing that. So as you look at this, and I've made note of that MERS is not fully integrated into the evaluation, what changes have been made. Needless to say, one of the things that we are doing is putting a floor in terms of what the ARC that we're going to be paying on any given year. The EM did do an analysis of both the police and police fire as well as MERS, and said if we were to commit a certain level of funding, in MERS case it's $3.4 million every year, that within 20 years we'd be 100% funded. This plan binds us to putting that minimum payment in every year. For instance, this year, you might recall, the actual ARC for this year was about $2.5 million, but we are still paying $3.4 million. And that extra money is going to go in and is going to build up over time, because I think the next year's is probably going to be right around 2.8 million. The ARC is going to be, my guess. And again, we're going to put 3.4, so there's going to be 600,000 more into the system. That's going to build up. That's going to help get this funded even quicker than what the EM thought we would be doing. So I think the plan, again, complies with what the state is looking for. I will argue with them that it actually is better than what they're looking for, and we will go to the mat to get this done. But this is the one that's probably the hardest to get approved of the three. But I think we have a pretty good chance of getting that approved.
Okay, further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Darzinski.
Yeah, thank you. I guess Matthew answered half my questions. Who directly in the state oversees the day-to-day management of MERS? Which department?
Well, there's nobody in the state that oversees the day-to-day operation of MERS. MERS is a separate entity that is regulated by the state and has to comply with state statutes, but they are their own entity and have their own board.
Yeah, like the sorry, I knew the answer to that. I had to have it on record, like the MCCA and so forth and so on. I don't trust the MERS setup, and we should take that component back. And I'm going to talk a lot more about this come November, or actually December, I guess. Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
I agree with Councilman Darzinski. We need to bring it back in-house. But the thing that's not been brought up, MERS, basically everybody's retired off from that, and that pension is not collecting any more money. So through attrition, every year, people are going to die off. And so 10 years from now, most of the MERS people, we're going to be gone.
Yeah, there's the defined benefit portion, which was closed back in 2004. Then when the city went with MERS, they created what we call the hybrid plan. So there are those post 2004 hired employees that are in the MERS plan, but it's a hybrid, not the defined benefit. So this one really is talking about the defined benefit plan more so than the hybrid. But the way that the hybrid is designed, it helps reduce what those unfunded numbers are, because they're a part of the overall system.
So what I'm saying is, though, is you say $3.4 million, for MERS.
Yep.
In 5 years, there's going to be a whole lot less than that, because there's not going to be that many people collecting on it. So attrition is going to take care of the problem with MERS real quick.
Well, it doesn't quite work that easily. When you look at the valuation going out, and again, this is for the current year's valuation, we'll be seeing a new one sometime after the first of the year. But the current one projects out that, in 5 or 6 years, we're going to see kind of a spike in what those payments are and going back up into that, like that $3.7, $3.8 million range again. Because what you have to, what you say, in fact, will happen, but we have a number of employees today that are still in the defined benefit plan.
Not very
So-
many.
True, not very many, but
That's
when you
why
play it
ours is
out.
worse than the fire department and police. They're still paying into their pension.
Right.
Where our people are not paying into MERS.
Yep.
So, still, the treasurer's gonna come through. In 5 years, you're gonna lose a lot of people. I mean, I'm 65 years old. Am I gonna be around in 5 years? I don't know, and I'm one of them.
Okay, further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilpersons Murphy?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. Next item that we have has a cover letter from our city management coordinator, James Gallagher. And then significant upgrades were made to the audio and video equipment last fall. Over the last year, ongoing maintenance was needed to ensure our new emergency alert system operated properly with respect to our existing infrastructure. Our cable emergency alert system, Chi Alert, is located in the city's server room. It is currently connected to our broadcast equipment via a scan converter that is prone to failure. Moving the Chi Alert device from its current location to the server room to the cable room removes the need for a scan converter and centrally locates all of our AV equipment into one room. We had initially planned to move our video equipment to the server room to provide more consistent service. Pro Video quoted the move at $6,781, Sound Planning at $6,579, and Third Coast Tech LLC at $5,832. Third Coast Tech LLC has provided the lowest quote at G2G Marketplace contract pricing. G2G Marketplace is an Oakland County, Michigan initiative similar to my bid that provides government with standard pricing for services. We believe it more efficient to simply move the Chi Alert device into our current cable room rather than move all the equipment from the cable room to the server room to accommodate one device. Additionally, the city looks to remain transparent, open, and accessible on various media platforms. As Third Coast Tech LLC provides the lowest quote for the equipment move, we requested a quote for equipment upgrades that allow us to properly take advantage of YouTube's streaming platform for our various council chamber functions. Third Coast Tech LLC provided two viable options given our existing equipment. Option one allows us to utilize our existing legacy equipment while accomplishing our goal of streaming council chamber functions and keeping our costs low. Resolution, whereas the city currently has audio and video equipment located in two separate rooms, whereas the city wants to ensure that all video equipment is in a central location and assembled in a fashion that ensures it is as reliable as possible, and whereas the city looks to leverage YouTube's live streaming platform for various council chamber events, and whereas funds are available within the cable fund to make upgrades to our current infrastructure, and whereas Third Coast Tech LLC quoted their services with G2G Marketplace contract pricing, which simplifies the purchasing process with pre-negotiated blanket purchase agreements to government agencies resulting in reduced cost of goods and services. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize the city manager to honor the G2G Marketplace contract pricing and sign all pertinent documents with funding to come from money set aside from the cable fund.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Yeah, question to the chair. Has anybody checked with Don, who does our streaming, to make sure that we're all on the same page? Because Don does most of our audio visual, and I'm just wondering if he had a chance to take a look at this and have a little input.
Yeah,
We have Mr. Gallagher.
Yep, James Gallagher, City Management Coordinator. Don he's been kept up to speed during the whole process. I don't know if he's been asked about option one, but he's been aware of me reaching out to 3 different companies to get quotes to make various upgrades to make his job essentially a lot easier. This will streamline a lot of what he's doing back there, and essentially make his job a lot easier.
I'm sure he's aware of it now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I had a discussion with him earlier this evening because, this kind of transitioned a little bit when we started seeing the pricing to move the equipment over into that. And there was a piece that was not a part of this, which is we have a fiber cable, I think goes across the roof, that's our Comcast.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the number was, but I was thinking it's like $5,000 or $2,500 to relocate it.
So it was about $3,500, but that would only include moving it. That wouldn't include the actual getting the encoder. That would have to be included as well. So not moving it and keeping everything where it's at and moving just one device really brought the cost down a lot.
Yeah, it didn't make, I think there's value in what the plan was, but there wasn't that much value. And, our needs really are more related to getting out a good product where what we're looking at really wouldn't have accomplished that. Where transitioning to this, going away from the relocation to upgrading makes a lot more sense and will provide a better streaming service for the residents so we don't have some of the issues we've had in the past.
Last question, what's their warranty? A year, 90 days? Any idea?
I'd have to check back with Third Coast Tech. I imagine it's a year warranty on the equipment, but I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think they included that in the quote, but I can certainly check back
Yeah,
with
because
that.
we through the chair, we seem to have a lot of problems with, after we pay for it, it goes south real quick. So I'm just wondering what kind of warranty we have. So if it does, we have them come back and at least fix it so we're not paying twice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And there is a component that's, I don't think is included in this, that we'll be seeing on an annual for the equipment that we're going to be getting.
The existing equipment?
Yeah, well, for the additional equipment that we're going to be getting, there's some, I remember seeing the numbers that we'll be paying in the future for service agreements.
I don't know if so for the current equipment or the new equipment that we're getting?
Equipment that's part of this.
I think that was just for the year for any kind of maintenance or any kind of visits.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is that there will be, like any of this equipment that we buy, there are service agreements that we continually pay for as well.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. This item is resolved that accounts and claims payable for those items greater than $25,000 be approved as follows. District Court, November 18, $49,059.34. Downriver Utility Wastewater, August 18 sewage usage fee and August 2018 assessment. Well, the sewage fee is $110,330.29. The August 18 assessment, $1,089.26 for a total of $111,419.55. DTE Energy, September 2018 streetlights, $42,228.69. Great Lakes Water Authority, August 2018 water, $204,451.38. Hard Rock Concrete, Riverbank Avenue reconstruction and water main replacement, $29,505.84. Inland Waters Pollution Control, 2018 sanitary sewer cured in place pipelining program, second payment, $26,517. Insulated roofing contractors for the senior center roof, $73,554.93. City of Riverview, September 2018 dumping services, $29,458.22. State of Michigan, MDOT Emmons from Fort Street to South Branch of Ecorse Creek, $41,482.83. And Wilkins floor covering, carpeting at City Hall, $28,075.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes.
Yes. We've now reached the time for our city manager's report. Mr. Copler?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple items. I had a number more, but because the hour is getting short, and I know you guys probably want to get some rest tonight before the polls open up. I'll limit it to two things. First one, I handed out this spreadsheet that has a number of things on it. We are at that time, actually, I think it's the third week in November, we have to submit financially distressed cities, villages, township grant applications. And like we did last year, I've provided a spreadsheet of those projects that have been submitted to me by the different departments for consideration to be submitted to the state. These may look very familiar because most of them were submitted last year. The one that was not submitted last year was the one, and again, these are not in prioritized manners, it's just how my stack of papers, were. So that's why they're the numbers like this. The first one that we're looking to submit is actually the schematic drawings for the joint court police facility. As you know, we've received a grant from the state to do the preliminary. Because timeframes never align the way you want them to, we have to make a decision to submit something now before we can get in front of you with whether we want to go forward or not with that. But the way it would work is we would have a decision by mayor and council whether to go forward with the project before they would start actually considering these. So we'd be able to withdraw that before they actually considered it. So, but again, I'd rather have it in and possibly be funded than not submit it and not have an opportunity whatsoever and we lose a year. So that's the only new one. The water main replacement's the same one that we submitted last year, obviously updated for this year, which includes more connections under I-75, plus a number of different areas on the west side of the city to improve the flow of water there. The Lincoln Park Community Center upgrades, again, the same thing where we're looking to upgrade the HVAC system, roof systems, entry door replacements, ice production, locker room, and also in that is lighting. And this kind of goes to a conversation that Councilman Parkinson has brought up in terms of energy efficiency. A lot of the things in here are all aimed at energy efficiency within the ice rink. So if we can get state funding up to $1 million, it takes all those things off the table for us. So the fire engine replacement, you might remember that one from last year. This one's been updated because you might recall we have two old fire engines that need replaced. So this would be for the second engine if we can get funding for that. The modular shooting range, as you're aware, our shooting range in the basement of the police department is not meeting the needs. And the chief had proposed a modular solution that would allow for a lot of different flexibility and possibly allowing other communities to utilize that as well at an off-site location. And then the last one is the disaster energy resiliency project for this, which effectively is the electrical upgrades and an emergency generator for City Hall. So again, 5 of the 6 are projects we talked about last year we submitted but did not get funding for. Just one is new for this year. And if there are no problems, I'll start going about finalizing all these so we can have them submitted for the November deadline.
I just got one question for the city manager. We just paid for the Joint Justice Center study, $38,440, so that check went out.
Correct.
This is the next step, the $450,000.
Yes.
What happens if we don't get the grant? We already got the grant to pay the $40,000 for the study, so that's going to start ticking for time to where it's relevant or not relevant. Is there any other additional funding we can get? I mean, obviously it's a grant, but is there something like from the court system or all these wonderful people that made all these wonderful things when they combined the courts and all that, that some kind of seed money or something we could use or apply for?
You know,
Or is that-
obviously,
this is what it is.
This is one possible funding mechanism for that.
All right.
You know, it would be an easy one. The other possible funding grant or funding avenues are not to the same number or same level of funding as this, and so we'd have to be doing a lot of piecemeal. But I think that you know, depending upon the direction that we get, because, there really is a couple different people that have to make decisions on this. There's, on the court perspective, the court building committee, as well as the three communities have to say yes to this project. And from the police facility, city council and mayor have to say yes to it. So there's a lot of moving pieces there, and to be able to at least put us in position to possibly be funded, I think is a good position to be in, and we can make all those decisions again, and then make a decision whether we want to continue with funding or not with this particular grant. But we're looking at this point that we can be in front of mayor and council with the feasibility study. I think we're looking at December 3rd, so it would be the first meeting in December that we'll be able to do that presentation, because right now the draft has been presented to the building committee, and they're discussing it, and there's a number of things that they have to make decisions on before we can bring it to mayor and council to make decisions on. So, but the time frame on that is really in the spring, when this would be awarded, is when we'd be starting the schematic piece of it. So it kind of lines up really well and really good. Maybe luck will be on our side if we go forward with it. If not, then we have to be searching to do that. The backup for that would be, the court has been putting money aside for the last year plus. It is sufficient to cover the cost of these things, but we'd much rather, have the state pay for a lot of these things rather than the communities. So that's a backup if we need it, but this just makes it a lot easier.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Your Honor.
So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to kind of circle back on, we'd talked about in the past that we have requested Standard & Poor's to do a re-rating of the city's credit. We were notified actually early this morning that they are going to be talking about it this week. So a lot of this day was spent there'll be time tomorrow spent working with Standard & Poor's to make sure that they have everything they need to make a good determination of what our credit rating should be. Again, I think I may have mentioned that I'm optimistic that we've met and exceeded any standard set of measurements that you could to get our credit rating above or get it into investment grade. Had we not gone through what the city had gone through the last few years, we would be investment grade based upon what we have. We have and will have, when the audit's completed, well over $4 million undesignated in the general fund. It's been a while since we've been there. We've gotten a hold of our pensions and have plans put in place, and even the OPEB is, in a lot better shape than where it was. So I think we stand a good chance of getting that done. We just had to get them to actually do it, and they're going to be doing it this week. So hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have some good news that we're actually investment grade again. And that is my report. And if you have anything, I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. If not, I'll be silent and
So, I'm sorry to make it longer through the chair. Matthew, again, so that everybody in the audience and everybody watching understands the importance of having investment grades for our bonds is so that we can go out there and start floating bonds for roads, so forth and so on, correct?
yeah, I mean, right now, because we're not investment grade, the state of Connecticut would not allow us to actually go out into the marketplace. Once we are invested. It's been a while.
It's been a long day.
Michigan will not let us go out. Connecticut wouldn't let us go out either. I'm just saying. It was an accurate statement, just probably not appropriate.
And that's how we got to Memphis. Thank you.
And but yes, this would allow us to go out into the marketplace, which would allow us to do some of those things that you talked about.
Yep. Thank you.
All righty, then
Thank you, Thomas T. Hall.
we'll move on to department head report. We have Chief Waters of the Police Department.
Give you guys an update on the police department since my last visit back in June, and I'll give you an update on our road patrol. Detective Bureau, SCAT, our ordinance, our Records Bureau, some of our training that we've done, our school resource officers, and our community policing. Our road patrol currently consists of 26 full-time uniform officers. Since June of 18, the road patrol has taken 16,938 calls of service. They've made 1,868 arrests and issued 3,364 violations. Our SET programs continue to be a helpful tool for the police department. Officers have issued an additional 5,547 violations outside of their shift work and made an additional 149 arrests. We continue to use the SET officers' cars to target some of our hot zone areas that have been selected from our CompStat research. This extra patrol, traffic enforcement, has helped reduce some of the crime in our hotspot areas. Some of the highlights and low points of the road patrol just recently. On September 24th, the Lincoln Park Police Department received the Care Hero Award at the Community Care Services' third annual Reality of Recovery event. This award acknowledged the department's extraordinary life-saving efforts of treating overdoses with Narcan. On the opposite side of that, the flip side of it, I should say, Narcan the issue with fentanyl and heroin is so serious and so dangerous right now. It's not just the people that are using it, they're also putting other people in danger. So last week we had 2 officers that were exposed to fentanyl during a narcotic arrest. Both those officers had to have Narcan administered to them, and they were both sent to the hospital for further treatment. They're both fine and back to work now, but it just shows you how dangerous that is. Just a grain of that could kill them. Our Detective Bureau. The Detective Bureau currently consists of 3 patrol officers and 1 lieutenant. Detectives have investigated 639 complaints since June, including numerous burglary, assaults, larceny, juvenile, and death investigations. They've closed or solved 540 of the 639 complaints. Our school resource officers, we have Sergeant Hammerly assigned to the high school and Detective Popowitz to the middle school. These officers handle complaints involving students and are responsible for assisting school staff with any problems that happen throughout the school year in all Lincoln Park schools. Sergeant Hammerly has recently started a mentoring program at the high school. And because of the care that he puts into his position, we've had several students come to us that have shown interest in the criminal justice. They're looking at being cops or other avenues inside the criminal justice system. So it's because of what they've done in the school. They're doing a great job. Our SCAT unit has continued to be a great asset to the department and the city of Lincoln Park. They focused on stopping narcotic, prostitution, gambling, and other illegal activity within the city. Our undercover unit has investigated 227 complaints since June. They pushed off or seized 99 vehicles, which is approximately $74,250 in fees that we'll receive from the county. They've also seized $36,858 in cash, issued over 263 violations, and made 98 arrests. They've also served numerous search warrants since June throughout the city. Our ordinance officers continue to investigate and enforce the blight in the city and handle all of our animal control issues. Since June, the ordinance officers have issued over 787 violations and investigated 3,370 complaints. So we're currently working with the building department to switch over how our ordinance department works. We are switching over from our RMS system to the BSNA system, computer system. This will allow better communication and open lines of communication between the 2 departments, between both the building and our ordinance officers. And we are also in the process of getting back an animal shelter in the city of Lincoln Park. It'll be located in the same area of our old shelter. Hopefully this will be ready by the beginning of January, fingers crossed. Our Records Bureau currently consists of 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees. Colleen retired back in August, and at that time we restructured our Records Bureau. Both Tiffany and Monica are doing our full-time, and we have Jan and Patricia part-time. The group has done a great job. They do whatever's expected of them. They're willing to do whatever it needs to get the job done. Records has reviewed over 23,604 electronic reports. That's crash reports, citations, live scans, and other reports. Just since June, this process is important because 15% of those of all rest are modified after the fact. That means that charges need to be changed in the computer system for crime stat reasons after the investigation. Crimes may not be, after the fact, after a detective reviews it, may not be as high as what they originally thought, or they may be higher. And since our last update, the records has collected or processed $14,994 in booking fees, $330 in PBT fees, $900 in sex offender fees, $200 in salvage inspection fees. And they've also processed 89 FOIA requests. And those FOIA requests can be very time consuming at times, so it pulls a lot of their pulls a lot of time away from their other duties. Some of the training we've done since my last visit, Officer Eicher attended a mental health first aid school. June 20th through 21st, both Sergeant Hammerling and Detective Kerr attended Alice Instructor School, which is the Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. On June 21st, Officers Eicher, Nicholas, Hancock, myself, Deputy Chief Lavis, Lieutenant Klockvich all attended the Bulletproof Mind. It was put on by Lieutenant Colonel Grossman. It was an excellent class. We try to send anyone we can in the department to it. On July 18th, Sergeant Martin, Officer Brown, Walther, Duranco, Villarreal all attended mental health awareness training. And in August, Officer Cerna attended suicide prevention training. In September, the police department teamed up with Henry Ford Health System and hosted an emergency blood stoppage tourniquet training class. We had about 55 officers and CERT officers trained in this class. Officer Eicher, our Lincoln Park officer, is certified instructor with us and assisted with the training with Henry Ford. In September, Sergeant Scott Lavis and Sergeant Mueller attended the NPEDS, which is Michigan Police Executive Development Seminar in Lewiston. This is a one-week class put on by the Michigan FBI National Academy chapter. Very good class, and both attended and had a very nice time. On October 5th, Sergeant Coulter graduated from Eastern Michigan Staff and Command School. This is a school that we continued on to put our command officers in. Teaches them a lot about budgets and supervising responsibilities. October 8th through 12th, Department qualified with the FATS machine, which is our firearm training simulator. Very good training for officers for the shoot, don't shoot scenarios. In October 24th through the 27th, our department qualified at the Taylor Outdoor Range with both rifle and handgun. Our department continues to use Police One online training. Each month we assign a class for each officer to complete. And just recently our department received $4,368 from MCOs for future training for our department. Community policing. Community policing program has continued to strengthen the relationship between the public and the police department. Sergeant Mueller has been part of numerous community events over the past several months. In June, because of his efforts, K-9 Sarge received a ballistic vest donated by the Miller family. On July 19th, the Lafayette Summer Reading Program came to the station. Sergeant Mueller gave them a tour, handed out coloring books, and let them all sit in police cars that day. On August 19th, the police department, with the help of the Rotary Club and Meyer, hosted our Cops Care Picnic. Officers played games and provided rides in police cars for the neighborhood children. We handed out 250 backpacks loaded with school supplies, 45 gift cards for a new pair of shoes for the children, and provided lunch for everyone that showed up. I think we grilled right around 480 hot dogs that day. On the 22nd of August, the police department conducted an ice cream giveaway with the assistance of Cooley's Ice Cream. We commandeered an ice cream truck and handed out 576 free ice creams to neighborhood children around the city. On August 28th, the police department hosted our fall blood drive at the roller rink, and we collected 101 pints of blood. September 6th, the department started our first Citizens Academy, as the mayor stated earlier today. This was a 9-week class. It introduced tactics to the citizens. We had a class of 10. Each week was a different topic. We had a tour of the Wayne County Jail. We had a tour and explanation of what the 25th District Court does. Judge Clifton helped us with that. 1 week our DB came in and explained to them how to process a scene. And then the following week we actually had a mock scene out so that they had to actually process it. They also participated with our FAST machine and trained with the shoot, don't shoot scenarios. Very good training that they received. They went out to Taylor and spoke with our SWAT commander, was able to see the Bearcat and some of the tools that they used during raids from the SWAT call-outs. And then just yesterday, we had our graduation dinner for the class, and went over very well. We hope that it continues on. We gave each one of the students, their assignment was to recruit somebody else for next year. CompStat, we continue to work with Dr. Martin from Wayne State to use our crime mapping to stop prevent crime in the city. We've continued to target those high crime areas within the city from our CompStat. This is just an example of what the city picture from our map that we have on our system with nothing on it. This is just the past 14 days of property crime. So you'll notice this is our year-to-date comparison from this year to last year. There's the nice thing to see there is there's some minuses. We're down in violent crime, property crime, and total major crimes. This is because of the hard work that the road patrol officers do every day. So the council resolutions that we've put in front of you, just to give you an update, in July we requested to purchase 4 unmarked cars. We've received all 4 of those cars from Crestford, and they're on the road. In August, we requested to purchase 2 new Ford Explorers for the road patrol. Cars are hopefully being built, and I don't have an estimated time of arrival on those yet. And then just in September, Department City Manager requested that I attend the FBI National Academy. I've received my acceptance letter, and I take my time to run this Friday. So cross your fingers on that. We're currently moving forward. We're currently planning our holiday Shop with the Hero dates and our Winter Cops Care Skate date. If anybody can make it out this Wednesday, we'll be at the McDonald's at Dixon Southfield for our McPolice night. Some of the proceeds the McDonald's gives back to us, and we put it right back into our program. And I'd also like to thank the public and the citizens that came out Saturday. One of our officers, Officer Howe, was in a very serious accident a couple of months ago. It was very nice to see the support that the city and the citizens all came out to support him, and the police department absolutely appreciates that. The police department will continue on to explore avenues, as always, to reduce crime while reducing the cost of the city. That's all I got.
Chief, you mentioned at the high school, the mentoring program. You're looking to have that as a formal program in the future?
So far, it's. I mean, this is something Sergeant Hammerly actually came up with and has done himself. I don't know how formal it is, but he's kind of pulled a couple kids aside and has done a nice job with them. We've had a few of them come out to the police station. We've given them ride-alongs and tours of the department.
What I meant was something that met every month or so, and then as you move on to that, something.
That could be something we move on to, yeah.
Okay, and your Citizens Academy, how many, just the maximum amount of people that could attend that?
Well, this year we kept it low because it was our first year, so we had it at 10. And the purpose for that was if we divided them into groups, then for like the crime scene stuff, that we were able to manage it with the amount of people that we actually had helping out. But we'd probably keep it between 15 and 20, I would guess.
And how does a citizen apply for that?
We will post it next year when we're ready. We'll post early on Facebook and try to advertise it the best we can. And they'll just sign up. There's no fee. So everybody got when they signed up, they were accepted. We gave them a Citizens Academy T-shirt, and they got the ID with their picture on it that said Citizens Academy. We made sure that they had that for a couple purposes, so that when we first meet them, everyone knows who they are, and then when they go to Wayne County Jail, they have ID too.
Thank you, Chief. Questions, comments for the Chief?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, sir.
Chief, this is the last time I get to say this as a public official, so I just want to make sure it's out there and recorded. You and Deputy Chief Lavis, if there's any two reasons why the police department does the fabulous work, it starts with good leadership, and it is the thank yous cannot ever be enough, and it's absolutely been a pleasure to work with you the last 3.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chief, I've been reading over the reports of the Pride. A lot of the ones you sent to contractor, there was no tickets. If you send a contractor, aren't you issued a ticket to these people?
I'm sorry?
If you send the city contractor for grass, should they not be ticketed?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Well, then you better look at your reports, because a lot of them are not.
Okay.
And the other question we had, I was talking to some of the other council people, I don't know if it's involved with your case or whatever, but what happened in the last 2 shootings?
Those are under investigation. I can't talk about that
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I want to congratulate you on the fundraiser. I was there, and it was a wonderful thing, not only to see how many people came out, for the citizens were there, it was jam-packed the entire time I was there, you couldn't move, but it was also the camaraderie that you have built with the younger officers, and they become a true family, which is something. We've had a lot of problems with officers coming and going, and it's nice to see that it's becoming steady and a frequent unit. And I think a lot of that goes on your shoulders, and I'd like to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know how, I can't take the responsibility. We actually have some really good guys. I think that's, and that just kind of all falls in place. They're really good people that we have working for us right now.
Just through the.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. I just want to echo my fellow council people, is that it's been a real pleasure to see the police department over the last couple of years be really involved in the community and do a lot of community events. It's been outstanding. I mean, I'm congratulate everybody that's done that. I've attended most of them, but it's just been great. A lot of community events, a lot more interaction with the residents, and I commend you and everybody that does that. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, but it definitely pays off. And I know as a public official, just like my council person Darzinski was saying, we appreciate that. There's a lot of work that we don't see behind the scenes that go into, but it benefits in a better community for everybody. I want to just say, like I say, on behalf of everybody, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice job.
One more thing, congratulations, I hope you have a good time at the FBI school, and I hope you do well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Chief, I would ask you to hang in the area through citizen communications, so thank you for your report.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. And speaking of which, we have now reached that citizen communication time.
My name is Duchesne, and I live in Lincoln Park. In August, a citizen asked if our city is on schedule for checking our fire hydrants and how often. Through the chair, could we get an answer for that now?
Mr. Copper, do we have an update on that?
The man that could have provided that is not sitting there any longer. We'll have to follow up with that.
Because this was way back in August, and it seems a little time to get answers. Through the chair, as a city asks DTE Electric Company for a written report when our citizens lose our electric power for over 10 minutes, for how long, and the reason why. Branches falling on trees, trees falling on wires, etc., etc., etc. A citizen, did you say?
I have, to my knowledge, we have not.
No. Because if you don't, they ain't going to give us no report. Now, the other night, around 3:15, I happened to be reading, and all of a sudden, all the lights went out for about 2 minutes. And then they come back on after about a minute or two. So I just sat there in the dark and figured they'd automatic come on, and they did in about 2 minutes. But that wouldn't count because that wasn't 10 minutes.
Well, even shortages of that nature, I mean, the class I was in today lost a monitor due to that power surge, so that's important too.
Is that what it was, a power surge, or?
That's what I heard, but go ahead.
Yeah, because it was raining too that night, and I just sat there in the dark for a couple minutes and the lights come back on again. Thank you. A citizen a few weeks ago brought up that the downriver communities get with Wayne County and the other counties around Wayne and go to Lansing to get back the money Lansing held back from us. I think that was a swell idea. Lincoln Park lost over $5 million back then, $1 million in 1 year. That put us behind in everything, and I think we haven't caught up yet. The politicians in Washington, or in Lansing, want to talk about cutting taxes in order to get votes, and I don't think they should cut any taxes until the cities get back that money that they held back years ago, around 10 years ago, when things got kind of rough in Michigan. And I have a question for the police chief.
Yes, sir.
Overall, 2018 to 2017, would you say crime is going up in Lincoln Park or is going down?
Down.
Going down. Good. That sounds very good. Thank you. And don't forget to bring your scrap papers to the bins on Cleophas behind the library. Thank you.
A comment on whether the leaders in the area get together to talk to Lansing and the government, that they meet on a monthly basis through the Downriver Community Conference. All the mayors from 20-some surrounding communities get together and discuss exactly what you're saying, and then propose resolutions that would benefit the entire area.
Okay, that sounds good.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Clifford Everts. Just a few things. One, I'd like to say thank you to all the city council members who will be departing from us as far as serving. I want to thank you for your many years of service and your dedication to the city. Tom, Chris, and anybody else. You've been an inspiration to the city. You've done amazing things over the years. Tom, your dad would be so proud of the many years you've served this city and done things. And it's going to be a little sad not seeing you up there because, you know, you're an Irishman, so that fight's in you. So the spirit's there. So, you know, it's done before it begins. So to all you leaving, I do wish to thank you. I want to thank everybody also who came out for Citizens Patrol on Devil's Night. Some left early. We stayed out. I know I did till about 3 in the morning, 3:30 when they finally called it. And we had very little incident. Much in part thanks to our wonderful police department and Chief Waters and Chief Lavis and everybody. They did just an excellent job helping us out with everything. And, you know, the police department and the fire department never get enough of a shout out. Looks like we almost lost power there for a second. But the police and fire never get enough of a shout out for the wonderful and tireless efforts they do while you're sleeping. Last but not least, tomorrow is Election Day. If you've already voted by absentee ballot, we thank you for casting your ballot. If you haven't gone out to vote, we do encourage you to vote. We can't tell you which party or which way to vote, but we want you to make sure that when you do get out to vote, take a look at your ballot for a minute. There's proposals on there. There's people running for your state and local offices, and what kind of Michigan and what kind of Lincoln Park you want to see. The future depends on your vote. And if you don't get out and vote, your voice can't be heard. And if you want to complain about the way things are, you have to get out and vote for change to make that change. Because if you're not a difference maker out there voting, you're not going to make a change. So I encourage all Lincoln Parkers to get out there tomorrow and cast your votes, because your vote is important, whether you think it is or not. Tom has always said over the years, too, that Lincoln Parkers will always step up to the plate, and we know with confidence that you'll do the right thing. So we're hoping and praying that you will get out there and cast your votes. We'd like to see a large turnout at the polls so we can see the difference. And again, get out there and vote. Get some rest and get up and go vote, please. We really do need your vote. Thank you.
Sean Stansberry. Well, tomorrow's election day. Everybody knows that, and I urge everybody to get out and get your vote out and get your voice heard. So we need everybody out there. It's very important for both local, state, and federal elections. So if you want to make a change, this is how you do it. You got to get out and make your voice heard and let people know what you want. So, being this is the last council meeting, I would like to personally thank Councilman Murphy for the years of dedicated service to Lincoln Park. Someone who serves 40 years plus deserves high praise in my eyes and a plaque in your honor. You brought conservative ideas and solutions to make things better for everybody. All residents benefit from you, including me, so thank you, Tom. Councilman Murphy loves Lincoln Park and has a proven record as council president. Hope the next chapter of your life is as great as the first. You will be sorely missed, my friend. God bless you and your family.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank Councilman Darzinski for his service to our city. Your hard work and dedication is what a council person is all about. I'm convinced that you are the hardest working person for the city by far. You're unselfish with your time and work so hard to solve difficult issues we face. You also will be sorely missed, my friend. God bless you and your family as well.
Thank you.
Last day for residential compost is pickup is November 30th. So if anybody wants to hear that out there, get your leaves in there and get them to GFL so they can get that for the season. And then through the chair, if I could ask Matt, I heard the chief talking about the shelter was going to be opening in January. I know I asked you a couple meetings ago, and I think you said December. I think things have changed then, or?
No, I think he's being very conservative because he must be from Missouri. You know, he'll believe it when he sees it.
Yeah.
So we're, you know, it is still on that course. I mean, again, there could be something that happens, but right now we're still on the December course.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, not seeing anyone else, we'll move on to oral reports of the council and the mayor. Council President Murphy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know all of my colleagues want to get out of here tonight because they got a hard day tomorrow. So I'm going to pass, other than to say what they say in Chicago: vote early, vote often.
As long as you only vote once.
You're not there.
Councilman Higgins.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll make it brief, too. I do want to congratulate the farmers market. Their season's over, and they've done a wonderful job all year. And I just want to congratulate them on a wonderful season. I'll forget other things, but there were so many events over the last 2 weeks that went on that did deserve attention. But again, I'm going to forego them because of the late hour. But I will not, the Demolay had their anniversary celebration last week, and they invited me in early, and I witnessed one of the young men become a member of the Demolay in what is normally a secret initiation, and that it was just absolutely wonderful what they go through and what they teach the young men, and congratulate that young man and that entire organization as they are doing wonderful things in the city. And that'll be it for tonight. And other than to say, vote, vote, vote.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Kelsey.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll try to be brief also. Councilman Higgins was there for the Demolay, and I had the privilege to represent the mayor and the council to give the proclamation, and it was very well received. And they would like me to thank the mayor and the council for their proclamation for their 75 years in the city. It was well appreciated. Quickly, the Citizens Academy was very nice. Myself and Councilman Ross attended it. It was very nice. It's very, like I said, the police department does an outstanding job. I think it's turned around a lot of things in the city because of their commitment to the citizens. We have one more meeting, so I'm going to save my praise for Councilman Murphy and Councilman Darzinski because I tended to go too far and we're getting short at the night. So I can see. Thank you, Your Honor.
All set? Okay, so Councilman Darzinski.
Thank you, Your Honor, as quickly as possible for the city clerk staff. Okay, Downriver Book Fair, December 1st, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Proceeds after we pay for the bills go back to the LPPS library, so please come out for the Downriver Book Fair on December 1st at the high school library. Still taking vendors for that too, so if you got books, get a hold of me. Sears Shopping Center, that needs to be a $300 million development in that area. I'll get more into that later. Voting is step number one. What I'm very much concerned about, thank God these get rebroadcast for 2 weeks. What I'm concerned about is Wednesday morning, November 7th. Voting is the first step, people. What are you going to take responsibility for personally in your daily time and in your daily schedule to help your city or the county, the state, the region, or your nation? Please think about that. A constitutionally limited republic is an interactive thing. Number 4. The town hall that I held, the third one I held regarding the police and fire pension funds, if getting up within the next 4 years, getting up to 40%, it's doable. It's not easy. It's doable. A Morgan Stanley report that I saw, I review these things, believe it or not, in my spare time. Morgan Stanley report of the last 27 years. If you had stayed in the stock market, there would be an average return per year of a smoothing period of 9.7%. So it just says that we have to have a far more robust system for investment. And obviously, I have a lot of ideas on that, and I'll continue to push that. Thank you to the Detroit Book Club. Several of the vendors that we have for the Downriver Book Fair have come directly from the Detroit Book Club promoting our book fair. And this is a fabulous example of how different groups and organizations in different communities can work together, even unknowingly to me, until a vendor, a prospective vendor told me that they were referred by the Detroit Book Club to us for our book fair. So thank you to who's ever in charge there. I've got to find out so I can send them a personal thank you email. This is how groups just work together and benefit the entire community. Thank you. I got to take a minute here. The Lincoln Park Preservation Alliance, which is overseen by Leslie Lynch Wilson, who oversees so much that goes on that's good in, as far as the events and a lot of things in the city. Countless hours. I really want to thank Leslie for letting me continue to at the Ghost Walk to I think it's the 5th or 6th year now that I've read for the museum. I thoroughly enjoy it. For those of you who might be new watching, I'm legally blind and I have glaucoma, so reading from paper for me is next to impossible these days. Thank God for computers, so I can blow everything up to 175%. But very seriously, Leslie could easily find someone that could read better than me to be at the museum, but she lets me do it, and this gets into the fact that you don't know who around you is handicapped, and if they're willing to be involved, let them be involved. I stumble through it every year, but I thoroughly enjoy reading for the museum, and I will do that for the LPPA as long as they allow me to do it. I really enjoy it. It was cold, it was rainy. I didn't care. I thoroughly enjoy reading for the museum, and thank you again to Leslie for letting me do that. I already said the Morgan Stanley stuff, so I was trying to find a Merrill Lynch report on that. No particular reason. I just was trying to find a Merrill Lynch one, but Morgan Stanley was the only one. The Myers Simply Give program starts November 11th, and this is where you go in. You'll see the Simply Give cards. The displays will either be at each checkout, or they'll have a main display by the by the self-checkout lanes. That's where you buy a $10 card, and then Myers Corporate will match $20 to your $10, and that donation goes directly to the Blessed Hope Food Pantry. A number of years they've done this now. When I went in on Saturday to confirm that, when that started, which is November 11th, when I was talking to the supervisor a couple of years ago, a guy came in and bought $2,000 worth of these Simply gift cards. So that's $6,000 that the Blessed Hope Food Pantry got. I asked her if when something like that happens, do they keep a record of the person's name, and she says no. Anybody out there, if you know who this person is, in my mind, they deserve a Congressional Medal of Honor. I mean, that's really feeding the hungry and the poor, and that's doing the Lord's work. And I hope we can find out who this person is, because that's simply fabulous. So Simply Give program, November 11th, buy the $10 card. That'll actually be $30 for the Blessed Hope Food Pantry, and you'll be feeding the hungry. And thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Parkinson.
Thank you. I echo what everybody else said. Murphy, you'll be missed. I thought they glued you to the chair. Chris, you've been doing good work here also, but Murphy, I thought they'd super glued him, really.
That was good.
Seemed like you've been around so long as I have, Murph. When I first started the city.
Yep.
Get out and vote tomorrow. It's very important. I see on TV last night, they did a pie chart. 60% of the people got out last time and voted for this stuff. So I'd like to see a lot more. I think Lincoln Park was less than 60%, wasn't it?
Right around 60%.
Okay. I agree with Chris. We need to speed up the process in a lot of different areas. It's just been feet dragging in a lot of places, and we need to get it done faster. Now, Carrie, I talked to you about the TV listing from the thing for the show. Okay, if you want to keep track of the votes, it's going to be on the government channel,
Right.
the way it used to be.
After election's over, we're gonna, we'll have the results broadcast on the cable TV.
The way it used to be.
Yeah. It'll just be the camera focused on a list of the votes.
It hasn't been like that for the last few years, but I mean.
No.
A lot of people are interested in that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Ross.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to remind everyone again about Fantasyland. If you've got a couple hours to spare here and there, they could really use your help. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow at the polls.
Thank you. Comments reminded me that I did receive information from Sears that they will be closing before the end of the year. So make sure that you make your visits. There's a lot of good sales there going on, I've heard. And can't get over the importance of spending a couple minutes and going down to your local polls and doing your duty as a citizen of our great country, is to go down and vote. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
Support.
Clerk, call the roll.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins? Kelsey?
Yes.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
And Mayor Carnes?